everybody. Paul Turner here, doing Mentor Me Monday today via Periscope here. So if anybody youth workers are out there, we are starting, and we're going to be talking today about the 5 questions I think youth pastors ought to be asking their potential employers. So if you're going to be at a church soon and you're interviewing in the process and things like that, let me give you 5 questions that I think every youth worker should look at. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the initial interview with the pastor, but somewhere along the line, you should be asking either a board member or somebody in the church or the former youth pastor or somebody, be able to go ahead and talk to them about this. Number 1 is this: where do you think the church will be in 3 to 5 years? Where do you think the church, why ask that question? Because that lets you know what this pastor may be thinking in terms of his long-term commitment to the church. Because I went and visited a church and wound up being there 40 weeks because the pastor just wound up just not wanting to be there anymore, and found myself in a very awkward situation where I was just stuck. And then I had left a church to go to this church, but had I asked that question, where they have to be then in 3 to 5 years, well, then at least I would have heard somewhat. I've gotten a clue on their long-term commitment to the church they're currently involved in, and then of course I would have figured out that they maybe would not have been committed to my family and the move and things like that. So that is a bad on my part. The second question you should ask is this, and this is basically, these are my questions too. I mean, you're going to ask, if you're into small groups, or if you're into worship, it kind of depends what your thing is, and that will kind of determine on the questions you're going to ask. So in reality, these are kind of my questions. I think they're important to me, but you're going to have to determine what those questions are that are important to you concerning, the job that you want to have, the kind of church you want to have, the kind of flavor of the church you want. And of course, you're able to determine a lot of this based on just a visit to the church, whether you like the music, whether you like the preaching, whether you like the people, all those kind of things. And a plus, it also boils down to, where God has called you to be, and, what is going to be in line with that. So the second question I'd ask is this: what is your current process of discipleship? I'm big on discipleship. I think, from a time that a person receives Christ, there should be some sort of process involved there. And that's having done it from a youth ministry perspective for so long, my desire is that the whole church would be kind of in on that process, from when the adults come to know Christ to when teenagers come to know Christ, from when children come to know Christ. So that's an important question for me, is what does the discipleship process look like? Because if it's possible that a pastor can't answer that question, then maybe they don't have a process, or maybe they're not seeing people, they're seeing you're going to be entering into a very immature kind of church. And that may mean more work for you. So you may want to ask that question. But it's important to me, so I'm going to ask it. The third question is this: what was your last outreach? Now, that's an important question to me, but it gives you a temperature of the church as to what kind of outreach they do. Is it a community outreach? Who are they trying to reach? Ask them and say, well, how did you do? How did the outreach go? Was it a drama? Was it doing service projects? Was it working at the local school? Whatever that may be. But that's an important question to ask, because at least I should say this: I want to be in a church that does outreach. So I want to be in a church that believes in the value of souls, and believes in the value of people, and is out there connecting with their community. If you're in a church and they can't tell you when their last outreach, and by the way, check the bulletin. That's also a good place to kind of find out where the church's head is at, and who they're reaching out to, and who they're trying to minister to, and what kind of programs they have. But that's kind of an important thing to me, is what was your last outreach, and how did this go? The fourth question is this: what is the current youth budget, right? And that's, you say, well, do you want to bring up money that early? Well, I would, only for this, just as a casual question. Once again, this may not be directed directly to the senior pastor, but somewhere along the line, that question is important, because if they're not currently investing in the youth program, the chances are that they may not differentiate from that when you show up, because now they have a person who can kind of take care of that and take care of this, and we don't have to throw money into the program. Now, that money, they will say, is that money is being invested into you, not into the program. But we know that if we're youth workers, there's our salary, and then there's what we put into the actual church, into the actual budget of reaching teenagers and things like that. And so you want to ask that question at some point, because that will kind of gauge the church's commitment for youth ministry and their heart for it and what they're putting behind it. And it's not just platitudes and it's not just words. It's actual money that they're investing into those things. And the last question is this: what is the last book you read? Or what is the last book your team has read? And this is a particularly important question, because then you kind of get to see from a philosophical point of view where that pastor may be. If they're reading a Seth Godin book, then maybe they're kind of an entrepreneurial pastor, right? They're seeking to be different. If they're reading Francis Chan, or if they're reading the Church Fathers, or they're reading something about marriage and family, it kind of gives you an idea of where this pastor or your staff or wherever it may be, of where their philosophy is going to be and whether or not that will connect with you or not. And so these are just important questions. Of course, you have some more, and you can connect with me. Tell me what you think your important questions are. What are the questions that are burning on your heart that you would like to ask senior pastor? Those are questions there. But I want to thank you for joining me today just for these few moments. I do this every Monday on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Jedi for Hire. And it is called Mentor Me Monday. I have a show that I do tomorrow called the Tuesday Panic for youth workers who are looking for ideas working with teenagers so that they don't get into a panic. And pretty soon I'm going to be starting a podcast. So there's a lot of things going on. Once again, I'm Paul Turner. If you want to connect with me in any shape or form, of course, you're watching this on Twitter, so you can connect with me and follow me at Paul Turner. At Paul Turner 2, TOO. And I would love to hear your feedback. So thanks for joining me today for a quick Mentor Me Monday moment. If you have questions about youth ministry or about reaching teenagers or anything like that, I would love to be able to help you reach them. So give me a shout out and let me know what I can do for you guys. Otherwise, you guys have a fantastic day, fantastic week, and have a great youth meeting this week, okay? Talk to you later.